All right, I'm happy to be joined with Payton Nyquvest, CEO of Numinus Wellness. Payton, how are things? Great to have you back on the show.
Good to be here.
You as well. Well, I should say good to see you as well. How's things? You know, it's been a little bit since we last got a chance to connect, but it's 1 or 2 months in this industry almost feels like 1 or 2 years, does it not?
It does, I guess, in the industry and just in general out there with people still being from home and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's exciting times. I think, I think the next couple of months in particular are going to be really, really exciting
Yeah, I think so too.
for the industry. Yeah.
Well, let's manage these investors' expectations, because if you don't have news out every 2 or 3 days, they start to get a little squirrely. But at the end of the day, you know, obviously something promising last week, Atai Life Sciences, which was like probably the most anticipated IPO, one of the biggest IPOs of the year, and it happens to be in the psychedelic space, went public last week. Share prices didn't move all that much, but when we think long term, with this company going public, what does it do for the overall health of the industry, and more specifically your company, Numinus?
Yeah, I think it continues to broaden out the legitimacy, frankly, of
Yep.
the industry to have a company IPO on the NASDAQ, and especially, I think the thing that maybe gets lost is if you look at the structure of Atai, it's really a unique IPO. Really, it's
How
they've
so?
got they've got a very large basket and collection of different things that they have different percentage ownerships of, and
Yeah.
from what we can tell, wanting to try and steward a number of initiatives forward. And again, when we look at this industry, that it's a big undertaking that
Yeah.
and I should say, not only a big undertaking, but frankly, and you hate to use the word opportunity, but there's a massive opportunity to make a huge societal shift in a
Yeah.
time where we recognize that it's needed more than ever.
Yeah, it's exciting to say the least. Let's talk about tier 1 issuer status that you were granted last week. The
Mhm.
psychedelic sector has been seeing some investment banks initiating coverage in recent times. Last year, obviously, with MindMed. Now, smaller market cap companies such as Cybins, Small Pharma, and Midocin have also received coverage, the latter receiving a buy rating and a 12-month price target, which was over 900% from its pre-coverage closing price. So with Numinus recently, as I said, graduating to a tier 1 issuer status on the TSX Venture Exchange, giving more eyeballs to institutional buyers, do you expect Numinus will receive its own investment bank coverage in the near future?
Absolutely, it's something that we've been working on for quite some time, and obviously, we've done a couple institutional bought deal financings now, raising over $70 million in the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's great.
And we've been this market or this industry is barely out of the first inning yet,
Mhm.
and I think analyst coverage and stuff like that is extremely important, and also let's make sure that proper due diligence is being done, and investors are really being informed, and I think obviously analyst coverage is a big step in that direction. So definitely a focus of ours going forward. As you mentioned, the tier 1 listing, for us, there was a reason why we were really intentional when we went public to be public on the TSX. That was we did that on purpose, and now with the tier 1, gives us the opportunity to move fairly quickly in terms of more significant uplistings, the TSX main board, potential NASDAQ listing. And for us, we're more looking at the timing of things and just when that makes sense. There's been many a small cap Canadian company that have
Yeah.
rushed to go public on the NASDAQ and then failed. So we've really, we've been fairly intentional about our approach, but we certainly have
Why is
aspirations.
that?
I think you see a large amount of excitement. You see capital get raised very, very quickly. And I think there's sort of the anticipation that the momentum is always going to be there. And, these things are not cheap.
Yeah.
They cost money, and you have to really be set up properly to leverage it accordingly. And obviously, things like a NASDAQ listing is a huge tool, but you gotta, tools are only good if you get them out of the shed and
Yeah.
and use them properly. So that's where you see sometimes Canadian companies fail.
Yeah, of course. Last week, there was a big conference that actually was held by H.C. Wainwright, an equity firm out of New York, big in the psychedelic space, and the best of the best were obviously attending this conference. What can you share with us as to like, what was the, I guess, the atmosphere like, as far as like, I know it was virtually, but what did you take away from the overall event, and more specifically, some, I guess, some good takeaways that investors might get interested in what you experienced as a company?
Yeah, I think huge amount of excitement about the space, and I think retail has the opportunity. We like to say it, vote with your feet. They can when they're there, they're there, and I think if I was a retail investor, to really look at who's really paying attention and who's getting involved, and those types of conferences are an opportunity for institutions to start to showcase some of these companies to some of their clients. And the thing that I would share that was overwhelmingly positive was just the recognition that this is a massive disruptor of an industry. It's very early, and is going to continue for quite some time. And I think that we're in this sort of space as a little bit of the wheat being separated from the chaff, I think, a little bit, which I think is important, especially in the early days. And I think again, looking towards the fall, things continue to look very, very exciting.
It's great. If there's a mission statement with you right now on the back end of 2021, and I'm, let's say, an investor looking to get into this space, and more specifically your company, what is it that you want to communicate, especially when it comes to the overall growth potential, let's say, for the remainder of the year?
Yeah, the second half of the year for us is really exciting in terms of we've got a number of trials that are now underway. We've got our phase 1 with our psilocybin extraction, that we're going to see results from that very quickly. We've got the MDMA work with MAPS that will be initiated towards the end of summer. We've got a couple of psilocybin for substance use disorder protocols that are going to get initiated as well. And the heavy lifting on those is done. Now it's really just running through the trials and getting the results. So there's a lot of excitement for us on what we see as upcoming catalysts, and then on the continued growth of the company around the clinical infrastructure and around Numinus Health in general. A lot of continued growth there that we're excited to share with people as well.
How about that research done by MAPS that was released by Nature Medicine? 90 people in a clinical trial, as many as 87% saw regression with MDMA assisted therapy, regression in depression, or I should say PTSD, and 67% were cured. It showed no symptoms whatsoever. What does that all mean? I know it's a big announcement for the industry, but think about your focus in MDMA and obviously your partnership with MAPS. Forward thinking, what does this mean?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and you used a word that is a new word in mental health, and a word that needs to be really more highlighted is cured.
I'm always a little skeptical of saying that, but that's great to know.
It's that's the thing we say with psychedelics, is they have curative intent. Now, if you look at the MAPS protocol, it's 3 treatments with MDMA with some integration therapy on either side of that. And as you said, in over 60%, these people were cured, no longer fit the criteria. And I think the thing to take from the MAPS work in particular as well is, these are people who had treatment-resistant post-traumatic stress disorder. So these are people who've been through a host of other post-traumatic stress disorder treatments, and they haven't been effective. So it's hugely significant. And if you think about the ability for people to get back to work, to the ability for people to live full, fulfilling lives, it's huge. And for the company, what we're really, really excited about, and I think if you read the MAPS literature, the therapeutic container, the trained therapists, really was a big outcome generator in regards to the therapy. And a big part of our collaboration with MAPS is around the training of practitioners.
I would love to see how that all plays out and what's involved in that.
It's really it's again, we talk about the psychedelics being tools, and a hammer can be used to hit yourself in the hand with, or it can be used to build a house. And I think for us, what we're really excited about, obviously, to be at the forefront of MDMA assisted psychotherapy in general with MAPS, but to train that workforce and to have protocols, training, and practitioners ready to go when MDMA is legal, which MAPS has shared a lot. They're anticipating by 2023 that it will be legally available We believe Canada may be even a little bit ahead of that with the special access drug program.
Interesting.
So this is, I mean, it's around the corner. It's really, you know, not that far out.
Do you think MDMA is the first compound to be legalized?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Listen, appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. Great conversation, to say the least. Let's keep in touch.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks, Payton.